What's going on, guys? BladeZilla here, and today we're taking a look at another super sick knife that may actually look like another knife that we just put out some content on. This is the F3 Emerald, and it was released the same day and the same time as the F3 Aquamarine, but in a different Alutex, pattern. So a little bit more hint of green in it, a little less hint of blue, but all in all, it's the same fantastic knife in Elmax, and that is what we are going to talk about today. So as a reminder, visit the site BladeZilla.ca, which is why we're doing a lot of this. A lot of these knives are in Canada, available to ship, so anything in stock is ready to go, but the main differentiator is it's priced in Canadian, and it is in Canada, ready to go. So there you go. Just had these super cool Protex, some Koenigs, etc., and geez, oh geez. I did have a bunch of F3s out that I actually just filmed like a video maybe an hour ago. And my goodness, the Aquamarine sold out right away. That was crazy. So still have some of these guys up on the site, but I'm assuming they won't last too long. They're just really cool. And for some reason, I think they may have underpriced them based on some of my findings on the knife as we kind of go through as I film that Aquamarine video, but that's not what this is about. We're about the Emerald today. So let's get started with some measurements and some weights and kind of go from there. And as a reminder, this is casual conversation. We're not getting into crazy details. We're just talking about knives. So grab a coffee, a beer, whatever. Sit back and relax. So here we go, guys. Overall length, we're coming in at 8 3/4, it looks like, with a blade length of just under 4 inches, or kind of like, well, 3 7/8 sharpened. Very F95-esque type sizing. Handle-wise, we're coming in under 5 inches at about 4 3/4, something like that, depending on how good your eyes are. And my eyes, obviously not the best, but it's somewhere in that conversation. Now, in terms of comparing this guy, I do have another F3 here. I figure it's probably a fair comparison because the MSRPs on these two are not far apart, but the level of production is pretty substantially different in terms of just the overall kind of, well, everything. Look at the hardware difference in sizes. Look at that collar on there, the tie collar. It's versus G10 collar. So at first glance, very similar knives, but actually they're quite different. Which is cool. I think there's like $50 price difference in between this guy G10 backspacer, Elmax Blade, I think is on this one. Yeah, Elmax. So very similar, but just done a little differently. So first, let's get a weight on this as well, and then we'll kind of get into why it's a lighter knife. I figure that's probably the logical starting point, and then we'll kind of go from there. So, lots to talk about today, and there's always something. Let's zero this guy out. So we are coming in at, I thought it was 4.849. Make sure, 4.9 ounces, and for my homies in Canada, 138 grams. And then this other F3 here, I thought it was 5.1, yeah, 5.1 ounces. So quite a big difference in weight, and you're like, well, why is that? Why is there such a significant difference in weight when, it's using the same blade? And let's also compare the blade stock. In the last little while here, everyone seems to think the new one is a lot thinner blade stock wise, and they are the same. But just that Alutex for some reason makes it look thinner. And there's really no difference between them. So where is that weight savings coming from? Well, to do that, let's start with the F3 G10 and take a look on the inside of this. And I think it should be pretty clear, unless you've watched the Aquamarine video already. Let's take a look inside this. What do we see? Maybe that's the best way. Just look at that light bounce around on that smooth internal surfaces. Well, there's your answer. No skeletonization on the inside of this one. Okay, beautiful knife, and remember, these are their entry-level F3s, so that's fine, nothing wrong with that. Super high texture level on this G10 as well. So literally cut a hole in your pocket because it's so grippy. And also pay attention to the milling along the bottom of the frame here, right? The patterning, as well as the top of the frame. These are all key design elements, and clip as well. Now let's go to this guy. Okay, let's crack this guy open, and oh, that is a smooth one. Super smooth multi-row bearings. Let's look on the inside of this one. What do we see by comparison? Any difference? Remember we were talking about how smooth it was on the inside of the other one? Well, there's no smoothness on the inside. It is all skeletonized out for weight savings and balance, I would presume. So there's a lot more work on the inside of this knife. Same blade and Alutex handles, but just substantially more material taken out on the inside. So I think that is, to me, a huge home run, because right there you're kind of getting a bit of a sleeper knife. Yes, it's Elmax, and that's super sick, but remember, like, if we went back about a year now, when we went through the F3 NS Elemental series, those guys, I think, were $1,100 or $1,200 US table. This is like almost half of that, right? And you're still getting the same internally milled tie frame. You're getting an Elmax Blade, which, by the way, one of those Elemental series had an Elmax Blade. I can't remember which one. What was it? One of them was M390, one was S90V. The Terrace was S90V. The Aquatic was Vanex. The Ignis was the Ignis M390, and then which one was Elmax? One of them was Elmax. I remember having that conversation. And Elmax is a super sexy steel, but it's not as sexy as, say, Vanex or S90V. Really nice steel, though. Where am I going with this? I should probably like have a roadmap of my notes, which just went off the rails. What am I getting at? So basically, if we went back, the table on those Elemental series were quite a bit higher than this, but quality-wise, you know, Alutex is a premium material compared to G10. That's what I'm kind of getting at. It's not carbo tie, so it's not like a super cool pattern, but Alutex, like, let's not forget, the Dr. Deaths were done in Alutex as well, and that is a premium material. And the fact that now you've got that internally milled frame, which is taken right from that knife. You've got the titanium pivot collar as well, which I haven't talked about, which, how sick does that look? That titanium collar versus a G10 one. And then the back spacer, which is just, to me, an absolute sleeper on top of the entire thing. Where, you know, it's not milled, it's not super sexy, but it's a titanium backspacer versus a G10 backspacer. I go, you know, they're clearly listening, because that is, like, this is what you want. It's like, hey, you know, I think they were at 675, 700, 775, is that right? 775 US? 800 US? Something, anyway, you're sub 1,000 by far on these. And you're ticking the boxes of the, you know, 30-40% premium price point of the Elemental series, with arguably the same blade steel, being Elmax, arguably the same level of fit and finish due to the pocket clip, the tie collar, and the back spacer, and now it's internally skeletonized to boot. These are going to be really hot. These are going to be really hot, and I just hope, because, you know, blue and green, like the super common colors, super nice colors, it just, to me, tells me, like, why on earth would you just stop there? Like, we've been seeing so many purples. Why are we not doing a purple? Will we see a red one? You know, like, that would be so cool. Give me maybe even like a charcoal one. Give me a nice white Alutex, just like the Dr. Death. Like, I'm curious to know, are they going to do more of these? Because the formula's there. You know, like, talking with some partners, you know, they're selling like crazy. Right away. And very similar to the, what was that, 111 that was done in S90V recently, where it kind of just came out of nowhere. And, you know, the Gen 5.1's super, super sick knife, but It's like, what? Why is there S90V on this? And it's the same price point. It's just like, whoa, they're gone like that. So I think there's more to the story here that I don't really know what's happening. But I'm not going to complain about it because I love the knife. I love F3s. A lot of people like them because it's basically a liner lock version of the F95. And I've got some size comparisons to do as well, which I haven't done. I usually do these early, but I usually get excited and all frazzled. So I apologize. I like talking knives. Let's grab my CCKS Hattie, which is an F95 with a front scale. You will have seen this in lots of videos. We'll grab my Kami, Kabumi, whatever you want to call it, Kami, which is essentially a stellar size knife, right? Great knives. And then let's grab a Neon Zero here, just for size comparison. And as well, I always like to look at the ergonomics of the handle. Like, just look at the shaping on the bottom of the handle and how they're kind of similar, right? But the F3s have a little bit more of a belly to them versus an F95. Let's grab that F95. Once again, put these guys away. Let's put these guys away. Take a look at the belly, right? Just a little bit different. And then I've got a true F95. Where is that? Custom division. There we go. Just to look at the belly on it. Right? This is what I'm saying. Just, it's essentially an F95, just liner lock, right? Same size, very similar, right? The flipper tab comes down, kind of creates that nice ingress for your hand, and then you get a little lumpy beer belly on it, which really helps with holding it in your hand. So super cool. In terms of cool special knives today that we can compare it to, I don't have a ton with me, but we can probably do, let's do Bio. There's a Bio Dark. I think it's a Bio Dark, yeah. We can do the Bio Light with it as well, because that case is open. We have the Sinkovich stuff, which we love showing. I love showing Sinkovich stuff. Multi-row bearing knives as well. And then my everyday, this is my Quantum. I carry a lot lately, but just different kind of profile to that. And remember, like, that's kind of the main difference between like a. Just look at where the flipper tab is on this versus Quantum, right? So F95 is, and this, the F3, they have that flipper tab, and they kind of get a little shelf kind of in the front here for your finger to fall into. Whereas the Quantum, that flipper tab's kind of built into the frame and doesn't give you that shelf for your finger to fall on. Some people prefer one over the other. I don't really have a preference, but this knife's freaking the camera out. I don't really have a preference, but I just have this. This was one of my first Shiros that I actually brought in, and just used it and didn't really want to sell it. It's Monkey Edge. I know it's I guess a competitor, so to speak, but I just think that that design's super sick. Maybe one day we'll get a BladeZilla Quantum or something. Same with the E-Knives Quantum. Same thing, just different pattern. I was a big advocate to call this knife the Hex, H-E-K-S, Hex, but that never happened. Anyway, I have one still. Super cool knife. But that's not what we're talking about. Here we go. ADHD kicking in hard. I should also say the Quantums, they do offer a, much like the Hattie to the F95, they do a Quantium, which is a G10 front scaled Quantum. And I don't know I'm kind of curious why. I've seen some full customs with a carbon front scale and a Quantum, but I don't think we've ever seen a production Quantum with a carbon scale. So I don't know why we haven't seen that, but that'd be kind of interesting. Unless I'm missing something. There could be some show variants of it, etc. Those Quantiums are done really well too. Really light. I'll stop there. Anyway, in terms of servicing on these guys, you want to use the Shirogorov tools for bits 1 and 2. And that clip as well will have one on it. Right? You could use a screwdriver. You could use, well, you probably shouldn't use a screwdriver. You could, but I wouldn't because you're going to gouge it all up. So get the right tools. Tools kind of look like this. This is a custom division bit, which is, you know, pretty cool. It's a higher end tool for Shiro, but it has all the bits for all of them, and really cool to have one of these. You can get the cyber tool as well, which you'll see in a lot of videos for service, which is kind of like a 90-degree bend on it for getting a little leverage. But the key is the tools, those bits, they fit right in there perfectly, and they don't mar anything up, which is kind of the bane of the existence of these knives. You don't want to do that. They are running on multi-row bearing systems, MRBS, which is stamped somewhere up here in front of the pivot. I don't know if you can see that. If you're watching in 4K, I'm sure you can see that. MRBS, multi-row bearing system. And think of it as a regular ball bearing on a track, but in a pinwheel configuration, kind of 3 balls in a row. So instead of like this, balls in the circle, it's kind of a pinwheel, 3 off. Like the rays on the sun. And all that really does is it doesn't really make it any smoother, any whatever. You know, my monkey edge frag that I have over here is actually single row bearings and is silky smooth compared to the E Quantum, or whatever you want to call it, E-Knives Quantum, which is multi-row bearings. They feel very similar. It's just to add side-to-side stability in the contact on the blade, right? Because you're spreading that load out over a further distance. Still, ridiculously smooth. They're knocking it out of the park. Oh God, that's a beautiful one. Absolutely beautiful. This is the knife that was filmed for the website as well. I know I get some questions on that. You know, I take the same knife, and it's the same one for photos as well as YouTube typically. So no, they're not. There's not multiple configs, because a lot of the times people will even comment on this knife looking different than the one in the picture, which is baffling sometimes. So maybe I got to do a better job of taking pictures. But not much of a photographer. Working on it though. What else? Fit in hand. I guess I didn't talk about the jimping. Very nice, not too pronounced, just comfortable, right? And with Shirogorov, as we know, they've typically matched that jimping from the blade down to the backspacer. Just that patterning, which kind of looks a little funny now, because it's always, you're just so used to that 3D kind of milled backspacer. Yeah, it looks fine, very usable, but not too pronounced, not too sharp, not rough like on some of the other ones. And then as we go down the blade, flat top, really quite nice and comfortable. No swelling on the tip either, just a nice kind of run down to the end if it wants to focus. There you go, right? No pronounced tip edge, anything like that. Just really, really basic. You know, if you've guys have heard the principle, keep it simple, stupid, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. That's what this knife is. You know, just well done. I do have an extra large hand, and still have a room for an extra finger back there, so you know, if the aliens want to take a pocket knife to carve some human bones or something, and they have an extra finger, this would work well for them as well. And I just really dig it. And I think the quiet thing on this knife that no one's really talking about is that, well, the backspacer. I think that's really, really well done. But the tie pivot collar, that is quietly a feature that I think is really well done and went under the radar. It just looks so good. What do you guys think? Like, you know, you can put Elmax on here, S90V, you can put some cool sexy steels on here and make it awesome, but I just dig the tie pivot collars. That's just such a nice little touch to it. As well, the bear is on the blade, right? It's not on the handle, like on some of the Astroms and stuff, Stellars. Lately, the bear is on the blade. It'd be cool to move that back. You know what? You can't win them all, but at some point, maybe. And then Elmax on this side, which is fine, but once again, it is on the cutting plane, so it would, yeah, we'll see. I would love to see it inside here, like they do on some of the old custom division knives. They've been stamping them in there, which is cool, but it's not as advertising. It's not as pronounced, which I guess you got to balance, you know, like, do you want to advertise a super sexy steel and make it pronounced, or do you want to have it more usable and kind of hide under the radar? I don't know. I'm not a knife maker, and I guess they can do what they want. Either way, I think they're just fine. So, food for thought. In terms of the green versus aqua colorway, They're very, very similar. It's just little hints. I did, when I filmed the aquamarine video, when I had that out, I did compare them at the very end. So if you want to go back and look at that video, I did have them side by side at one point. They are very, very close, but just little hints of that emerald versus blue. That's all. Otherwise, it's the same knife. So fit and finish are identical. You still get the flipper tab milling. So when you pull the flipper tab, you know, you've kind of got that beveling on each side, so it's just nice and comfortable. The gaps as well to the frame, I don't know if you can see this too well, are just gorgeous. Everything's really, really nice. No issues. I did want to shine the light underneath to see if that back spacer had any gaps on it as well. I always like to see that. I don't think it did. Nope. Nothing. Wow. Well done. Well done, guys. Oh, and the action on this is just through the roof. Oh, yep. I don't know which one. I haven't decided, but I will be definitely throwing one of these in the collection just to have, because it's a bit of a unicorn right now, just based on the Alutex and the colors and the backspacer. So I don't know which one. Any ideas? Aquamarine, blue versus green. I don't know. One of them will stay around, I'm sure. As well, we do have a lock bar insert. I don't know if we can see that inside there, but it's just hiding in there. It is replaceable. I would love to see how replaceable it truly is and how they do it, but I'm also not willing to take this apart. And I guess you don't really need an over travel stop because, well, it is a liner, so you know, it does slap against the scale there. But you never know. Okay, well, I think I'm going to leave you there, guys. Appreciate you stopping by, checking out the F3 Emerald Alutex with Elmax Blade. Super sick knife, really, really cool. And I think these are going to be popular. I hope we can get our hands on more of them because just the configuration's so good. Check out the website, go on BladeZilla.ca where I'll keep you updated if I do get more in stock. And follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and I created a Facebook page, which I'm going to have to run a program on there for a discount code or something to get more of you to follow it, because I just started it. Probably should have done it about a year ago, but you know what? C'est la vie. Alright guys, have yourself a fantastic week, and any questions, comments, feedback, leave it below. Otherwise, we'll see you soon. Peace.